right, kids, it's time to talk about one of the greatest, most amazing things that you'll ever use in your writing, and that is the hook of our writing. That is the hook of our writing. So, kids, get ready to have your mind blown by some awesome, awesome hooks that we're going to talk about. Okay? Hope you're ready. So, let's get started. So, right now, you should have your notes glued in, and you should be on this top part of those hook notes where it says, what is a hook? Right? So, what is a hook? Very simple. It's the very first part of a piece of writing or a presentation. So, it's that first sentence or few sentences, that first thing that you say, that very, very beginning. That is the hook, right? What is the purpose of a hook, right? To grab or, get this, hook the reader, the audience's attention, right? We want to hook them in, right? We want to get them interested. We want to say, this is so interesting. Look at this. This is why this is important. This is why you should care about this. Please, please, please listen to this, right? And if you noticed, right, for this, I did a little bit of a hook, right? We had some music going on. I was getting excited. I had the pictures of people going nuts, right? So a hook is important, right? Because that is what's going to make something in someone interested to read what you have to say, right? And this happens not just in essays, right? This is something that stories need to do. Novels need to hook a reader in, right? If you present to someone, you need to hook the listener's attention in, right? Anytime you have something that you want someone to read and pay attention to, right? You gotta hook them in. You gotta give them a little teaser, a little something that helps them understand why they should be interested in. So, you might be saying, well, Mr. DiBiase, how am I gonna do this, right? Don't you worry, I got you. Okay, I've got a bunch of different ways that you can do this. Okay, so here's our way number one. And let me kind of break down the different parts of this. So if you follow my mouse here, circling this part is where you see the word quote, that line next to it, fill it in. So a quote is an important, impactful quote. It should relate to your essay and be relatable to the person who reads it, right? That is something that's important, right? It should relate to your essay, and the person who reads it should understand what it means. Our example here, right? So dawn goes down today, nothing gold can stay. The final two lines of Robert Frost's Nothing Gold Can Stay echo many of the same themes as are in The Outsiders, right? So that's there, right? In our sentence starters here, put your quote in. This quote is meaningful because whatever, right? Blank once said this, right? So there's a couple good ways to kind of format, structure your quotes to get them in a way to make sense. So this is a really good one. If you have a really strong, powerful quote, sometimes, right, as we saw with our montages, sometimes those quotes can be really interesting and really get a person engaged and interested, okay? So I should have mentioned this earlier. I apologize. If you need extra time to get these written down, pause the video, but I'm not going to like sit here and wait imaginary amounts of time for you guys. So if you need to pause the video to finish up writing this stuff, pause the video. And remember, this part goes in the part that says quote, this part goes in our example part, and this part goes with the sentence starters, right? Pretty simple, pretty clear. Cool. Our next one is an anecdote, right? And that is a short story that relates to your essay topic. So an anecdote in general, what is an anecdote, is a kind of short story with a quick point. So it's normally a story that you can tell in maybe 2 sentences, right? Something that's really quick. Our example, one day my whole family went out for ice cream while I was sick. Although this was a minor event, I'll never forget the feeling of loneliness I experienced. In that moment, I felt I was an outsider. Oh, man, right? So that helps because lots of times as humans, as people, we are plugged in to listen to stories, right? And when someone has a story for you, right, lots of times you're like, wait, I want to hear that story. That's awesome, right? Our sentence starters, one time this happened, right? I will never forget this happened. This is more of a difficult one for sentence starters. Those are a couple decent ones to use, but there's lots of different ways to start a story, obviously, right? Cool. Okay, again, pause if you need to copying this still down. Then we'll move on. Pose a question. So this is the all-time #1 ranked champion for middle school students, right? And that is to pose a question. Middle school students love asking this questions, right? But in this, a question is okay, but it should be a deep, meaningful question. Let's look at our example, right? What does it mean to be an outsider, right? That's something you can ponder and you can think about it, right? Don't make it something like, do you like to eat chocolate cake? Which is like a yes or no question, because Soda Pop loves to eat chocolate cake and he's in the outsiders, right? Again, that's kind of a surface thing. We want to get these deep, good questions, right? A couple of sentence starters again. Lots of ways to start with a question. Did you know blank? What does blank mean, right? That should be something that we can think about, right? A deep, meaningful quote is important. What does it mean to be an outsider, right? Something we can think about. Okay, pause if you need to. If not, we're going to keep on rolling. An interesting fact. So some of these you may kind of tell can lend themselves to different types of writing a little bit more, right? Interesting facts are really good for informative writing or persuasive writing. More difficult in the literary analysis essay like this. For some of you who have chose to compare the outsiders to a real life group, this might work, right? Almost 20% of the children under the age of 18 live below the poverty line. This has countless consequences throughout all levels of society, right? Many of these are explored in the outsiders, right? Actually, these are put your fact in. This fact shows or reveals what. And for this, right, it should be a stat like that that kind of makes you go, oh, wow, that I was not expecting that, right? 20%, that means 1 out of 5 kids, right? That's a lot of kids, right? That's something that stands out to me and kind of shocks me a little bit. So something that startles them, your audience, and makes them be like, wow, I had no idea. Okay, again. If you need to pause to finish, pause away. If not, on to the next one. So I have to say, especially for this one, this may be my personal favorite. This one right here may be my personal favorite, and that is to reveal a misconception, right? So with this, what we're doing is like, I know you guys think this, right? But actually, this is what it's like, right? So when you point out something that's commonly believed is actually true, point out something that is commonly believed is true, but is different, right? Than what you think it is. I'm sorry, let me start that whole thing over because I just jumbled everything up. So this is when you take something that a lot of people think or believe and say it's either A, not true at all, or B, it's different than you think, okay? So take something that people believe to be true commonly and say either A, it's different, or B, it's just completely false, right? Every day we make judgments based on the way people look. Although we may seem absolutely sure of these judgments, many times they are misleading, right? That's a misconception, right? A lot of times we look at something or someone and we judge them a certain way, and that doesn't end up to be true, right? That's something that I would say that all of us have done, right? A couple sentences. Many think blank, but actually blank. Although you may think blank, in reality, blank, right? So this is a good one, especially with the outsiders, because a lot of this novel is, right, revealing misconceptions about people. So this is a great one. Again, kind of going back to when we talked about facts, how different things relate better to different ones. This set a scene one is one that we see oftentimes in narrative writing or story writing, right? Think about novels, short stories, those type of things, and that's to set a scene, right? So if you have like this really vivid, important scene that you can think of, one good way that you can do it is you really describe in detail, right? We have those descriptive detail skills that we've worked on, right? Where we are kind of taking every moment, using those sensory details, all of those really, really important things that we talked about. And we are using those things, right, to really help to describe someone, hook someone in, and make someone curious, right? Long hair, greased back, switchblade, dangling hand. Dallas Winston walked down the street with trouble on his mind. Dahlia is not only a central character in The Outsiders, but in many cases, it's most interesting, right? Imagine this, picture this, right? So that kind of makes you think, ooh, I wonder what Dahlia is like, right? I wonder what he's like. So here is what I want you to do now. On your sheet, you have those couple examples that hopefully you glued your sheet in correctly so you could see both sides, right? And on your sheet, I want you to take 2 and do 2 practice runs, right? Flip those over, do 2 practice runs. You can pick any of these, right? You can make them similar to our examples, right? You can make them. A good idea is to have 2 that relate to your topic. That's if you're thinking smart here, right? And that way you get a head start. So, yeah, that's what we have for this. Okay, so work on those 2 examples. When you're done, show me, Mr. DiBiase, right, those examples. I'll give you some feedback if you need it. So once you are done with this, right, you have a few options. There's 2 other sets of notes that you need to watch on our introduction in general and our claims. Or if you've done those already, right, you can start writing. Okay, so finish a couple other sets of notes or start writing. Okay, this is great. Remember to grab our reader's attention, right? We want to make it interesting, and we want to slowly keep it. Thank you all. If you have questions, please ask me.